Welcome to my first vlog. I'm delighted that as a trust we're moving increasingly into the digital area and embracing technology to support our students and staff. In this vlog I want to share some of the significant news from the trust this term, discuss updates to our mission statement and look forward to some of the major changes coming down the line. I've been spending a lot of time at Isambard this term supporting the Year 6 students with their maths. It's been hugely enjoyable and watching the progress of the students has been incredible. It's also allowed me to reconnect with the most important people in our organisation, the children, and reminded me why we do what we do. It's also caused me to question some of our approaches, with too many students not having a solid foundation of basics, which is undermining all their other learning. This is something I'm now working on with our primary head teachers to explore how we can address this issue going forward. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Emma, Jo and Chloe for welcoming me into the Year 6 team, as well as Sam, who's made sure I'm supporting the right students in the right place at the right time. It's been inspiring to see the dedication of the team and work alongside them. Asking our head teachers for their what went wells has been one of the best decisions I've made as CEO, and I can't believe I did not do it earlier. Every week my inbox is flooded with amazing stories of incredible things that are happening in all of our schools. At a time when it appears that every media story about schools and children is negative, this is a clear reminder that the vast majority of schools are doing some amazing things with young people on a daily basis. And almost all the students in our schools embrace the opportunities we provide for them. Our children deserve the right to come to school to be inspired, supported and challenged to be their best selves, and we help them do that every day. This reminder has led me to reflect on why we do what we do as educators. In researching this, I came across the work of Simon Sinek and his Golden Circles. Here he explained that most leaders and organisations defined what they were and how they operated, but they did not define why they were doing what they were doing. He goes on to explain that most organisations start from the outside, the what. A few move on to explain the how, but very few grapple with the why. And yet it's the why which is where our inspiration and motivation comes from. If you're interested in this, I've included Simon Sinek's website on the slide. I then realised that when I became CEO 2.5 years ago, I had done what everyone else had done. I'd taken our what and then added some of our how, but I didn't get to the core of our why. So realising this, I've actively engaged head teachers in discussing their why to see if there were some overarching themes that we could agree on as leaders of our trust. I was surprised and delighted to discover how similar our core why was. The fundamental driving why for our head teachers revolved around social justice. The desire for students, no matter their background, their socioeconomic circumstances, their ethnicity or their gender, should have the opportunity to have the best chance at life, came through very strongly. And in many ways I should not have been surprised about this. The majority of our schools serve deprived communities with above national levels of deprivation, and I see the commitment day in and day out in our schools to ensure our students have the best chances in life. So, after a lot of discussion, we've created this draft updated mission statement for our trust that is currently being considered by our board of directors. The final area I wanted to touch on in this video is the new Ofsted framework. I hope some of you have had the opportunity to read my blog post on our trust's response to the consultation. Whilst there are areas we have concerns about, I believe we have to see this as a huge opportunity for us. The shift away from focusing on outputs to examining inputs is a fantastic opportunity for us to extol the virtues of our thinking approach to education and celebrate our use of tools that demonstrably work with the brain to support children's learning. I hope many of you will recall this slide from my conference speech in 2017, where I explained why we had to embrace the thinking agenda so it was clear and explicit throughout our organisation. There are many tools used across our schools, but they all share one common theme. They've been demonstrated to support children to think about their thinking and engage in learning more effectively. However, this year it's become clear that we need to do more work with both our staff and our students to support all our understanding of how the tools we use are based on neuroscience and why they effectively engage the brain. I know many of you attend the cognition crew, and this has led to a trust-wide discussion of cognitive load theory and its application in the classroom. One piece of research that I want us to engage with is the cumulative effect of using consistent thinking tools in the classroom on reducing cognitive load in our schools, and thereby increasing the amount of cognitive capacity remaining for students to engage with their learning. However, it is also clear that we need to provide additional support for some of our staff and the science behind why the approaches we are using are effective. I know Hannah Miller is passionate about being evidence-led, and we need to ensure that the evidence is easily accessible to all our staff. To this end, I'm really looking forward to the launch of our own Thinking Foundation, an associated website and resources in September, that we hope will become a one-stop shop, not only for our trust, but to anyone interested in the application of neuroscience in the classroom. The other reason I'm very pleased about the new Ofsted framework is the opportunity to develop our teaching so that we focus on teaching to support children to remember as well as teaching them to understand. The Ofsted framework is clear about the need for schools to clearly demonstrate their expectations and planning about how student knowledge will be built up over time, and that this knowledge must be for the long term and not lost. Those of you who have worked directly with me in the last few years will know that I am passionate about memory and the application of the science of memory in the classroom to support student learning. In my view, teachers are very good at teaching for understanding, but as a whole, we are less good at teaching to support long-term knowledge acquisition. In our secondary schools, we see this when students transfer from year 11 into year 12, and despite having learnt a great deal of material for their GCSEs, the vast majority of this is lost 2 months later when they return to start their sixth form studies. In our primary schools, we see this with students being able to process their times tables, but few of them actually knowing them. As a sector, we have steadily moved away from teaching for knowledge acquisition to teaching for understanding. However, it is my belief that knowledge is a vital aspect of learning. I remember arguing with Professor Bob Burden, who established a cognitive education centre at Exeter University, that Bloom's taxonomy was deceptive in how much it underplayed the importance of recall. Because at the end of the day, if you can't recall something, you can't think about it any further, no matter how skilled a thinker you are. Therefore, we should value memory much more highly than Bloom's does. It's not the most basic form of thinking, it is the key to all thinking. Therefore, a great deal of CPD is planned for next year to support all our staff to engage in this development of their personal understanding and professional practice. And I look forward to seeing peg theory, memory palaces, acrostics and mnemonics, as well as many other memory techniques becoming part of our collective vocabulary, understanding and practice. So, that brings me to the end of my first vlog. Thank you for listening. Look out for the next one in the summer term. Thank you very much.